Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the Thursday, September 14, 2023 meeting of the Board of Adjustment for the City of Bel Air Beach to order. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to ask Clerk Patty Gentry to please call the roll.
Board Member Marv Beam.
Here.
Board Member Carol Conry.
Present.
Board Member Fred Elia.
Present.
Board Member David Gardella.
Here.
Board Member Tony Gatliff.
Present.
Vice Chair J. Mason Goldman.
Here.
Chair Mike Kelly.
Here.
City Manager Kyle Riefler.
Here.
And alternate board members Mark Mariano and Gerald Wizawati were unable to attend.
Thank you, Patty. I'd like to ask for a motion regarding the last meeting that we had in May 11th Board of Adjustment meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor of the minutes as reported, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 7-0. At this time, I'm going to ask anybody in the audience that is going to speak tonight, even if you think you might and you're not sure if you want to, please stand up and be sworn in by our clerk.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly declare or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in these proceedings is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and read the rules and procedures that we're going to follow tonight for everybody's benefit. There's actual procedures that we follow. There's a series of questions that we ask. So here's how it's going to take place. For each case that we have tonight, I will read the variance request. Then the city manager will give a staff report on behalf of the city. Then the applicant will be asked to come forward or their representative to the podium, pull the microphone down to make sure, since we are recording this, that we can all hear you, and you are welcome to make your statement, or your representative is also able to make that statement. At that point, we're going to have open discussion with the board and with the applicants. Followed by that, we actually vote on 6 different items for every case. The board will be asked to vote, and each of those items will be voted on individually by everybody up here. We will then ask for a vote regarding the variance itself. And then at that point, we'll do a roll call to see if the variance passes or if the variance fails. If there's any questions, you can stop me at any time. At this point, we'll go ahead and ask for variance request number 23-04 for the owners of 120 14th Street. And excuse me if I pronounce your name wrong, but I believe, is it Rahul and Meena Shukla?
Yes.
Thank you very much. They're requesting a variance from Division 2 Swimming Pools, Section 10-7, regarding the setbacks, the heights, and the widths. The height of a swimming pool shall be no higher than 18 inches above the crown of the road. Any structural part of any permanently installed in-ground swimming pool or spa shall not be built higher than 24 inches above the deck, including raised spas, pool beams, upper level decks, and raised waterfalls. Auxiliary deck mounted equipment such as handrails, ladders, grab rails, diving boards, and slides shall not be subject to the height requirements set forth in this section. Their request is to construct a pool 62.64 inches above the maximum height allowed by the city code. Patty, have we received any correspondence at all for this case?
I had one phone call inquiring if the pool was going to be in the front yard and the backyard, and that was their only question.
Okay. Are any of the neighbors by chance of the applicant here this evening that would like to speak? I know you've got a representative from your pool construction company. At this point, I'd like to ask Kyle, now that I've read what they are requesting to do, Kyle, if you'll make a report on behalf of the city.
Thank you, Chairman. So our city engineer, Larry Flutie with Gemini Engineering, he reviewed the plans and prepared a letter stating what the variance needs are. He used everything in the measurements of feet. I'm going to say it in inches because our code references to 18 inches. It might be easier to understand that way. So this is the property at 120 14th Street. They have an existing pool that is a higher elevation than is allowed by code. The crown of the road in front of the residence that the code references, that is 22.2 inches. The existing pool deck now is at 86.4 inches, and this is inches above sea level. And the proposed pool, the plans that are included in this packet, is requesting to be at 102.84 inches above sea level. Given the crown of the road being at 22.2 inches, the maximum allowable by code elevation of a new pool is 40.2 inches above sea level. So the proposed pool being at 102.84 inches above sea level, they need a variance to cover an additional 62.64 inches above what is allowed by code.
So basically, we're asking for something that's 5 feet higher than what we allowed by code.
Roughly 5 feet, 2 inches.
Okay. Thank you.
Kyle, one question. On the 86 inches, is that sea level or is that from the crown of the road?
The existing is 86.4 inches above sea level.
Or sea level?
So
Go ahead.
the existing is 46.2 inches above what is allowed by code.
Thank you.
So how much higher above the existing deck as it stands now that they're looking to go?
They're looking to go an additional 16.49 inches above the current pool deck.
16 inches
16 inches.
above the current pool deck?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Kyle.
So the old one, before the representative comes up, the old one, as it gets torn out, will be replaced by a higher pool,
Yes.
as proposed.
That's proposed.
Okay. Any other board members have any questions before we ask for the owner's comments? Mister, you good? Okay. You folks are welcome to make a statement if you'd like, or your representative is welcome to make a statement.
Yes, sir. My name is Steve Geiger. I represent Cody Pools. The biggest reason that we want to raise the pool to the height of the patio is the existing pool now has stairs. And it's more difficult for the homeowner to enter in and out of the house down to the existing pool that's there. So right now there's technically 3 steps from their existing house to the existing pool deck. So what we're asking for is to build the new pool to the height of the patio. I know that it already exceeds what the current code is, but the pool already does. So as he's saying, we're asking for another 16 inches more than what it is right now. And then as far as the footprint of the pool, the new footprint of the pool is smaller than what's actually existing there concrete-wise. Some of the existing concrete is as close as 3 feet off of the seawall. Anywhere with the new project would be any closer than, I think it's 11 or 10.9, somewhere in that range.
So you didn't have to, or you don't plan to alter the tiebacks?
No, sir, and I have a letter that I turned in with the package that has a copy from my engineer on the seawall.
Okay. So let me, do you have your pool plan in front of you with your elevations on it?
I did, yes, sir.
You're showing an actual finished elevation on the pool of 8.57.
Yeah, the spa would be 9.57 and then the pool would be 8.57.
Okay,
Yes.
so the spa's up another foot,
Yes,
and your pool deck will finish as you'd like to have it finish at the 8.57, even with the covered porch.
yes, sir.
Okay. Does everybody on the board understand that? We've got step downs all over the place once you flank the pool. So that'll take it down approximately, what is it, Steve, about 4 feet?
On the back side, yes, sir.
Yeah, at the water level.
Correct.
Okay. Any other comments on your behalf?
I think that makes it clear, yes, sir. I do have copies of the survey highlighting the existing pool and the proposed new pool, along with pool construction drawings. If anybody'd like to see it, I have all of that stuff.
So you have a demolition contractor lined up
Yes, sir.
pending the approval of the variance?
That's all we're waiting on, yes, sir.
Okay, have you applied at all yet for anything
When
to
we-
Kyle?
We did apply for the application, and then this is as far as we've gotten, yes, sir.
Again, any questions from board members?
On either side of the deck, just from north and south, drops off, and then you have the grade of the land, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Their intent is to put glass wall, obviously for trip fall purposes all the way around. That's going to get installed.
Anybody in the audience want to speak on behalf of this case? Mr. Geiger, thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, board members, I'd like you to go ahead and take out our criteria sheet, and I'd like to ask our Vice Chairman, Jane Goldman, to go ahead and ask the questions on our behalf. We will be asking, ladies and gentlemen, 6 different questions for which you must receive a yes vote to move forward with the variance.
So number 1, have you demonstrated that the special conditions or unique circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved and which are not applicable to other similar structures or buildings in the same zoning district? Did the requesters meet that? Approved is a yes, and no is a deny.
Patty?
Mr. Beam,
No.
Ms. Connery,
No?
Mr. Elia,
No.
Mr. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Pardon?
Yes.
That's 3 no votes and 4 yes votes.
Yes, ma'am.
Number 2.
Number 2, have they demonstrated that the variance requested is the minimum variance that will make it possible for the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam,
No.
Ms. Connery,
Yes.
Mr. Elia,
No.
Mr. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
2 no and 5 yes.
Have they demonstrated that granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this chapter? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
No.
Ms. Conry?
Yes.
Mr. Elia?
No.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
2 no, 5 yes.
Okay, number 4. Have they demonstrated that the variance requested does not change the use of the property from the use characteristics mandated for districts 1 and 2 in sections 3051 and 94-252 and Article 4, Division 3 of this chapter? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
No.
Ms. Conry?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Elia?
No.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
2 no, 5 yes.
Number 5, will they comply fully with the additional conditions and safeguards which the Board of Adjustment may prescribe, including but not limited to reasonable time limits within which the action for this variance is required shall commence and or be completed? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
No.
Ms. Conry?
Yes.
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
1 no, 6 yes.
Okay, number 6, they demonstrated that the variance requested does not violate any provision and requirements set forth in Chapter 62 and Chapter 74 of the City Code. Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
No.
Ms. Conry?
Yes.
Mr. Elia?
No.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
2 no, 5 yes.
I'd like to ask for a motion requesting the board to weigh in on, or vote, weigh in, or vote, please. I think we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance request number 2304.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Ms. Goldman, who seconded? I couldn't tell. Thank you.
Tony Gatliff.
Mr. Beam?
No.
Ms. Conry?
Yes.
Mr. Elia?
No.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
2 no, 5 yes.
Folks, your variance is approved. So we wish you the best. Steve, move forward with Kyle as soon as possible.
Yes, sir.
Good luck going up to Clearwater to get your building permit from the county.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you.
I just want to express my heartiest thanks. Thank you very much.
Good luck with your pools. Our next variance request is number 2305. The address is 305 Harbor Drive. And the owners, again, I hope I pronounced it correctly, Dimitra and Konstantinos, help me on your last name. Stathopoulos, okay. They're requesting a variance from chapter 30, which is our marine structure chapter. Plans and specification, regarding plans and specifications, the length of a residential dock shall not exceed 30 feet from a seawall or waterfront property line involved to allow an existing, your request is to allow an existing residential dock 31 feet farther from the seawall than allowed by code. At this point, Kyle, could you come on back up and give us a city report, staff report?
Okay, thank you. This is for 305 Harbor Drive. There's 3 variance requests, and it's for an existing dock and boat lift. So it's required to have 3 variances from the code to replace, what they're asking is to replace the existing boat lift with a new boat lift. And the reason that they need the variance is because the dock itself is longer than is permitted by code. The lift has pilings that are further out than permitted by code, and the projection of the property line, it's closer than what is permitted by code. So, talking about the length of the dock, the existing dock is 61 feet from the seawall. The code provides that a dock can be 30 feet from the seawall with an extension of a 15-foot catwalk. The way the dock is designed, the dock is technically, the dock structure is 61 feet from the seawall. And that's on the existing dock. They're doing nothing to that dock, but they do need a variance because the lift is part of that dock. So they need a variance of an additional 31 feet from the seawall to keep the existing dock. And then the next variance is a variance to allow the existing boat lift hoist to have elements, pilings out at 69 feet from the seawall. The code provides that boat hoists shall not be extended farther than 45 feet from the seawall. So this would be 69, so they need a variance to extend the boat hoist an additional 24 feet from the seawall. And then the last variance is one dealing with the property line projections, and the way that the lot is shaped, if you look at the parcel, is it's kind of a pie piece getting skinnier towards the seawall. So when you project out the property lines, they kind of squeeze in. But at the distance where the boat lift is, which is the 69 feet from the seawall, and you project those property lines out, instead of being 12 feet away from that property line, it is only 9 feet away. So they're asking for a variance to be 3 feet closer to that projected property line on the south side of the property. And again, that's no closer than what the existing situation is.
Any questions from the board for Kyle?
Yep.
Hi, David.
So I don't understand, you're not replacing the dock, you're just replacing the 4 pylons and the 10,000-pound lift
Yes,
in the exact location that it's currently at.
light for light.
Okay, thank you.
Kyle, is this because this is an ancient variance from a long time ago?
The original dock was built before the current code was adopted. So the code got more restrictive after the dock was installed.
And to your knowledge, is there any interference, because several of the board members are all voters, and David lives on that channel, are we interfering whatsoever with that first 25%
On this property, which I have a computer for that reason. 5 Harbor is right here. So where the parcel's highlighted, as you can see, it's open water, clear across the channel there, so no interference.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, take it in.
Sorry, I'm used to a mouse. So the dock comes out, and there's the existing boat hoist or lift. And you can see how the property line projects this way.
Leave that on the screen if you will for a minute. David, any comments? Tony?
No, I'm actually surprised it's even 9 foot from that extended property line, the way that looks, so that's good. All right. They're not extending anything, it's exactly where it is now. That was my question. Thanks, Scott.
I have a question. So Kyle, the existing boat lift now is 9 feet from the property line on the south side,
Yes.
and are they asking to go further out? If you said it was 61 now, it's going to be 69 for the new one, or is it going to be the same distance?
So the dock, right here where it ends is 61 feet,
Yeah.
and then the boat hoist is a little bit further as the way it exists now, so
So
that's
it's basically
that
going to be the
additional.
exact same dock?
It's going to be the same placement.
And there's already docks on either side of that of relatively the same length, so either that
Yes,
way.
there's other docks that are longer than the code.
And one more question. So this was put in prior to a Board of Adjustment hearing when it was originally put in, right? Because they don't have a variance from then.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And the variances are only good for a year anyhow. So, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. When it talks about the oyster bed and it's unique to this property, is it not going to be unique to other properties as time goes on? I'm looking at the info that they've explained why the request is needed.
The properties vary as you go along the seawalls. There definitely are some that have more prominent oyster beds in shallower water. I can't speak exactly to let you know.
Or will these not continue to grow though? Or will there be another variance needed if it continues to grow?
I don't know the answer to that.
Would the applicant or representative of the applicant care to come forward? Please introduce yourself and pull the microphone down if you need so we can hear better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, hi. I'm Lisa Ryan with Advanced Marine Construction, and I am here representing Ms. Dimitri and her husband. We are proposing, as you have mentioned, to keep the existing dock and lift in the exact same position it's in right now, just to swap out the boat lift on new poles. Any questions or?
While it's up on the screen,
Yes.
are you seeing it behind us or we're seeing it back over here?
Mhm.
Whether Kyle answers this or you answer this, David has lived on that canal for years and years. I lived down on Harbor Drive for 18 years further north of where that house is. All of us as boaters are always concerned about shoals, and as you come around that corner, that's a tough one. I realize you're not going out any further, but Kyle, how far across is it to where you come? Are you familiar with that? Or David, you can probably chime in on this one.
Well, from where it starts getting shallow there, on that picture, it's probably 60 feet, maybe 100 feet, I don't know.
Are you saying from the dock to?
Yeah, there's a natural channel that runs through
Right,
there, which is nice.
So where it gets darker there?
Yeah,
It shoals in real bad on that right
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I did not measure that, no, I don't know that exactly.
Okay, well, the fact that it's existing is helpful because to obviously getting a greater percentage of that 25% that you're allowed when not venturing into that particular area. So in terms of hazards to navigation, guys, I guess we're not dealing with that.
No,
Docks on either side.
Yeah, they were.
The only thing, Mike, that I would say, since you guys live down there, is there any high condition for safety of building, so nobody runs aground?
No, because the existing dock that's been there, we all avoided coming in, because it even starts one or two houses to the south. And I think one or two, they're not even in that shop.
It's consistent.
Okay. Thank you. At this point, we'll go ahead and do our questions for our criteria worksheet. Jane, if you take over.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And you guys didn't swear me in, and I'm a lawyer, so you want to swear me in? Because I came in 3 minutes late, so.
How do you gotta swear the young lady?
Sorry, I just feel bad. It's like I feel like I'm lying. Wait, this
Raise your
hand.
right hand.
Yeah, that one.
Do you solemnly declare or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in these proceedings is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to say that we've owned it since before my first son was born. So it's real shallow out there, and it would deem, if you guys don't do this tonight, it would deem it like pretty much unusable. And we, as you know, we're not trying to change anything. We just want them to replace the lift so that we can use it. And it's just really shallow. You guys know from being out there. So, and then we do. The nice thing is we do have that nice channel out there. So I don't think we're bothering anybody any more than anybody else is out there. We're trying our best. So
Neither one of us has run into your dock.
not yet.
So,
Keep our fingers crossed, guys, because we can't even rebuild it after that. Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Jane, it's yours.
Okay, so variance requests, we're going to start with 23-05. The first question is, have they demonstrated that special conditions or unique circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land structure or building involved and which are not applicable to other similar structures or buildings in the same zoning district? Yes equals the variance is approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
Aye.
Ms. Conry?
Yes,
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
7 yes.
Number 2, they demonstrated that the variance requested is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. Yes, variance approved, no, variance denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
7 yes.
Question number 3, have they demonstrated that granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this chapter? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
7 yes.
Question number 5, will you comply fully with additional conditions and safeguards which the Board of Adjustment may prescribe, including but not limited to reasonable time limits within which the action for this variance is required shall commence and or be completed? Yes, the variance is approved. No, it's not approved.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
7 yes. And Ms. Goldman?
I skipped question 4.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Question number 4 was, did they demonstrate that the variance requested does not change the use of the property from the use characteristics mandated for districts 1 and 2 in sections 30-51 and 94-252 in Article 4, Division 3 of this chapter? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
7 yes.
Question number 6, they demonstrated that the variance requested does not violate any provision and requirements set forth in Chapter 62 and Chapter 74 of the City Code. Yes equals variance approved, no equals variance denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
Yes,
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes,
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
7 yes.
so we need a motion.
Motion to approve. Would somebody like to make the motion?
I make a motion that we accept it. As approved.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Can I get the motion in a second? Was that Ms. Conry was motion
And Marv Beam.
and Marv was second? Thank you.
Yes. This is for number 2305.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
Yes,
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes,
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
7 yes.
Variance number 2305 is approved. We're coming to part 2. You've got 3 to go. So we got to do this again twice. We know the show's not too terrific. We've got to do it again.
so bear with us.
That's right.
Variance request 23-06. First question is, have they demonstrated that special conditions or unique circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, and building involved, and which are not applicable to other similar structures or buildings in the same zoning district? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
7 yes.
Question number 2, have they demonstrated that the variance requested is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure? Yes, variance approved, no, variance denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
7 yes.
Question number 3, have they demonstrated that granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this chapter? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
7 yes.
Question number 4, have they demonstrated that the variance requested does not change the use of the property from the use characteristics mandated for districts 1 and 2 in sections 30-51 and 94-252 in Article 4, Division 3 of this chapter? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
7 yes.
Question number 5, will they comply fully with the additional conditions and safeguards which the Board of Adjustment may prescribe, including but not limited to reasonable time limits within which the action for which a variance is required shall commence and or be completed? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
7 yes.
Question number 6, have they demonstrated that the variance requested does not violate any provision and requirement set forth in Chapter 62 and Chapter 74 of the City Code? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
7 yes.
Would like to have a motion?
Did it?
I'll make a motion to approve variance request 2306.
Second.
And is there any way we can always make another motion just to approve everything for 2307?
No, sir.
That's fine. No.
Okay, I'm getting good at this.
Mr. Beam?
I need a list.
Yes.
Ms. Conry,
Yes.
Mr. Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
7 yes.
Okay, variance request 23-07. Question number 1, have they demonstrated that special conditions or unique circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land structure or buildings involved, which are not applicable to other similar structures or buildings in the same zoning district? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam,
Yes.
Ms. Conry,
Yes.
Mr. Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
7 yes.
Question number 2, have they demonstrated that the variance requested is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam,
Yes.
Ms. Conry,
Yes.
Mr. Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
7 yes.
Question number 3, have they demonstrated that granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this chapter? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam,
Yes.
Ms. Conry,
Yes.
Mr. Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
7 yes.
Question number 4, have they demonstrated that the variance requested does not change the use of the property from the use characteristics mandated for districts 1 and 2 in sections 30-51 and 94-252 and Article 4, Division 3 of this chapter? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam,
Yes.
Ms. Conry,
Yes.
Mr. Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
7 yes.
Question number 5, will you comply fully with additional conditions and safeguards which the Board of Adjustment may prescribe, including but not limited to reasonable time limits within which the action for which a variance is required shall commence and or be completed? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam,
Yes.
Ms. Conry,
Yes.
Mr. Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
7 yes.
Number 6, they demonstrated that the variance requested does not violate any provision and requirements set forth in Chapter 62 and Chapter 74 of the City Code. Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam,
Yes.
Ms. Conry,
Yes.
Mr. Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
7 yes.
I'd like to make a motion that the variance is approved.
Second that.
We have a motion by Ms. Goldman, and we have Mr. Gardella or Mr. Beam for a second.
Mr. Beam,
Yes.
Ms. Conry,
Yes.
Mr. Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
7 yes.
Lisa and Demetra, thank you for your patience on this. All 3 variances are approved. You're welcome to move forward with Kyle and our permit procedure. And again, water navigation up in Clearwater, and we wish you the best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Kyle.
Okay, that moves us on to our 3rd variance request of the night at 907 Harbor Drive. It is variant, we have 2 variances coming up. The number 23-08 to construct a dock to encroach 25 feet farther into the navigable waterway than allowed by city code. Mr. Brown, I presume this is yours? Okay. The second variance we'll hear is 23-09, same address, requesting a catwalk, constructs a dock and catwalk 15 further along, 15 further out, 15 further longer than the allowed by city code. Kyle, the floor is yours.
Okay, so this is at 907 Harbor Drive. He's requesting two variances. The first variance is addressing the 25% encroachment, more than 25% into the navigable waterway. The engineer looked at the plans, looked at the aerial image. I'll go to it. So that is 907 Harbor. And when the engineer calculated the navigable waterway, he got a distance of 140 feet. That distance, he calculated from the land to the bird island was 140 feet. His explanation when I asked was he wanted to make sure he checked all the boxes of what could be interpreted as a navigable waterway. As you can see, it's, a couple, probably 300-400 feet off of Bird Island to the north of the property. But that is how he determined that they need a variance of an additional 25 feet. Because he calculated that 25% of 140 is 35 feet, and then the dock itself with the catwalk extends out 60 feet. So it would be a variance of 25 feet further.
Okay. But it's fairly open water right off Mr. Brown's dock.
Yes, I just wanted to point it out. And then when it comes to the plans for the dock, he has an existing dock that you can see. And he currently has a lift at the east end of it. But what his plans call for is extending a catwalk off the end of this existing 30 feet to get out deep enough to put the lift for the boat to be. So our code allows you to construct the main dock 30 feet from the seawall, and then you're allowed 15 additional feet from the dock, as long as it's 4 feet or less in the width of a catwalk. That is not enough. He's proposing doing an additional 15 feet from the dock, so it'd be 30 feet of catwalk to extend the lifts out. So again, that's a variance of 15 feet longer than allowed by code.
Any questions from the board?
How long is the dock out now, Kyle? I mean, the farthest island there supporting that lift, is that 45 feet?
Let me see if I can measure it. The dock I know is 30, and it looks like it would be under 40. So if you can, the dock for itself goes out, it has like a dock that runs parallel to the seawall that is 4 feet from the seawall, and then from there, so this is 4 feet, and then it goes another 26 feet to the end, so that's the 30, and judging by this, if you just look, if this is about halfway, it looks like the lift doesn't go, probably goes out right at 45. I don't have the existing plans.
It's fine.
And we're looking for another 15 feet past that point.
Yes.
You zoom out just that dock is out about, or that lift is out about.
Okay, so they're confirming that the lift is within that 45 feet from the seawall, the existing.
before Kyle sits down, any questions anywhere?
Al, can you just push it in a little bit so I can see the navigable water on the side there? Just a little bit, you don't have to go.
Like that?
You can come in even more, just so I can see what's going on right there. Okay, that's perfect.
And then this is part of the parcel. They actually have some submerged land. So this cutting in like this doesn't apply to the distance of the dock off the property line because the way the code reads is it's projected out like this.
So on the second variance, we're not really worried about the 9 feet, where the property line on the 9 foot is determined. So
It's
it's
far
saying
enough.
we do have the 12.
They do have a 12.
Okay. Thank you, Kyle. Mr. Brown, Mrs. Ryan, would either of you care to come up?
Hi, thank you. My name is Scott Brown. We purchased the home in the middle of February. I've been trying to work on a suitable plan since then. The issue is that the water around the dock and at the end of the home there is very, very shallow. It becomes dry land, completely dry land, about 20 foot off the seawall in low tide. There's also an abundance of seagrass in that area. So I had originally looked at trying to move some of the sand out of the way and create some depth.
Dredge it.
And dredge it, but the county spoke of some concerns because of the seagrass in the area, and so they would prefer us to get it a variance for length. So that's why we're asking for this variance. The property, the navigable waterway there, there's really two that are directly behind the home. There's an east-west navigable waterway that runs all the way out to the main channel in the harbor, and then there's a north-south that everybody's familiar with, runs right next to here. So that area is extremely wide in terms of navigable waterway out there. There's my estimate and measurement was in excess of 400 feet from the seawall behind my house. So there's a lot of water back there that's deep and navigable. And as Kyle mentioned, the navigable waterway that the engineer spoke of was to the island, but the island is nowhere near my property. It's several hundred feet to the south. So we really are just looking so that we can use the dock in low tide and even mid tide. Preferably, we would have a request of 25 feet to ensure that we could use the lift at all tide levels. But the variance application asked us for the minimum, so that's why we are seeking 15. It will probably prevent me at some points in time with extreme low tides from using the lift, but I think that's a pretty rare occasion, and so that's why we're requesting 15 feet. So we're trying to be as reasonable and keep it as short as we can from that. And I just also want to note that in our application, our neighbors have reviewed the plans and approved the plans and agree with those.
Mr. Brown, you are correct. This board looks very realistically what the minimum request, variance request is. That's very fair. If you need the 15 feet, that's what we'll consider. Some people have shot for the moon and the whole variance goes down.
Right.
So your application is commendable.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I also just want to introduce as well John McKenna, who is an environmental consultant that I hired with Florida Permitting. And Florida Permitting has been around for 34 years in the area, and so I hired them to advise me with regard to the seagrass and what would be acceptable.
Mr. McKenna, thank you for your very thorough letter.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
These kind of reports definitely help the board. Any other questions for Mr. Brown or Mr. McKenna? Or Ms. Ryan, you're there too. Any board members? Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Vice Chairman, you can take it.
Okay, here we go. This is Mr. Brown's variance request number 23-08. The first question is, has he demonstrated that special conditions or unique circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not applicable to other similar structures or buildings in the same zoning district? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
Yes,
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
No.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Pardon?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
1 no, 6 yes.
Question number 2, they demonstrated that the variance requested is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
7 yes.
Question number 3, have they demonstrated that granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this chapter? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
No.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
1 no, 6 yes.
Question number 4, has the applicant demonstrated that the variance requested does not change the use of the property from the use characteristics mandated for districts 1 and 2 in sections 30-51 and 94-252 in Article 4, Division 3 of this chapter? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
No.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
1 no, 6 yes.
Question number 5, will you comply fully with additional conditions and safeguards which the Board of Adjustment may prescribe, including but not limited to reasonable time limits within which the action for a variance is required shall commence and or be completed? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
No.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
1 no, 6 yes.
Question number 6, have they demonstrated that the variance requested does not violate any provision and requirements set forth in Chapter 62 and Chapter 74 of the City Code? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
No.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
1 no, 6 yes.
I move that we approve this request for a variance.
Second.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
No.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
1 no, 6 yes.
So variance 23-08, the first of 2, that enables you to encroach 25 feet further into the navigable waterway is approved. We'll move on to 23-09.
Okay, 23-09. Number 1, have they demonstrated that the special conditions or unique circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not applicable to other similar structures or buildings in the same district? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Ms. Conry?
yes,
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
No.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
1 no, 6 yes.
Question number 2, have they demonstrated that the variance requested is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam,
Yes.
Ms. Conry,
Yes,
Mr. Elia,
Yes.
Mr. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. Gatlib,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
7 yes.
They demonstrated that, question number 3, have you demonstrated that granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege which is denied by this chapter? Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam,
Yes.
Ms. Conry,
yes,
Mr. Elia,
Yes.
Mr. Gardella,
No.
Mr. Gatlib,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
1 no, 6 yes.
Question number 4, they demonstrated that the variance requested does not change the use of the property from the use characteristics mandated for districts 1 and 2 in sections 30-51 and 94-252 and Article 4, Division 3 of this chapter. Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam,
Yes.
Ms. Conry,
yes,
Mr. Elia,
Yes.
Mr. Gardella,
No.
Mr. Gatlib,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
1 no, 6 yes.
Question number 5, you comply fully with additional conditions and safeguards which the Board of Adjustment may prescribe, including but not limited to reasonable time limits within which the action for this variance is required shall commence and or be completed. Yes equals approved, no equals denied.
Mr. Beam,
Yes.
Ms. Conry,
yes,
Mr. Elia,
Yes.
Mr. Gardella,
No.
Mr. Gatlib,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
1 no, 6 yes.
Question number 6. Have they demonstrated that the variance requested does not violate any provision and requirements set forth in Chapter 62 and Chapter 74 of the City Code? Yes equals approved, no equals variance denied.
Mr. Beam,
Yes.
Ms. Conry,
yes,
Mr. Elia,
Yes.
Mr. Gardella,
No.
Mr. Gatlib,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
1 no, 6 yes.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we approve this variance number 2309.
Second.
Patty?
Mr. Beam,
Yes.
Ms. Conry,
yes,
Mr. Elia,
Yes.
Mr. Gardella,
No.
Mr. Gatlib,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
1 no, 6 yes.
Mr. Brown, congratulations. You got your variances. You move forward and deal with water and nav and go from there. Mr. McKenna, while you're here, we're going to pick your brain. Would you please come to the podium for a couple of questions that will help not only our board members, but our city manager, because your letter is terrific, and in the past, this city has had to deal with maintenance dredges.
Sure.
On a city level, this is where I show my age, we actually had a sandbar out here past Mr. Brown's area that David, you'll remember, shoveled in so bad that we approached the Army Corps of Engineers for approval, and they were dragging their feet. And we started going to legislatures because all we wanted was a maintenance dredge. We had clean fill. We checked all the boxes, and the Corps of Engineers said no. At that point, we said, because when it shoveled in, the currents blowing under the bridge, going north, I don't know, Kyle, can you pull that down? We'll even show the bridge to where John can get a better shot at it. Because it's the sandbar's still there, David, isn't it?
Yeah, it comes out, maybe we see it from there.
It's dangerous.
Really high.
You can see how narrow it gets, John. and that's where the currents started ripping. A lot of non-residents were fishing on the sandbar. And we actually said, what's it gonna take for us to be able to get this approved? Pinellas County agreed they would do it. Where our land is outside here, we were willing to put the fill there and have it hauled away at no charge to the city. Kyle, you may have heard a little bit about this, but this got to be quite an issue. And ironically, a man who was fishing there over Labor Day weekend in 2003 or 4, I can't remember, drowned. He slid off the sandbar. His body was found just north of the bridge. I got a call from the police chief at the time because I happened to be mayor, and he said, you have to do an interview with Channel 13. We just lost the person who drowned because of that sandbar. You'd be amazed how fast the Army Corps of Engineers gave us the approval for a maintenance dredge. Can you kind of explain what a maintenance dredge is? Because I know Mr. Brown had to encounter it too.
Sure. A maintenance dredge, the state of Florida has their own definition of it. Pinellas County has a similar definition. The Army Corps of Engineers also has their own definition. But essentially, it's any navigable channel, a boat basin, a mooring area, anything that was dredged essentially artificially. And normally the way that we determine that when we're putting our permits together is going back through historical aerials. If we can go back to the 50s, 60s, even the 40s and show that something was dredged, then it's easily maintenance dredged. The other caveat is for the state, if an area fills in to the point where it's no longer navigable, they will not consider that maintenance. Then it's essentially a new dredge.
Because I can't say that was our first maintenance dredge, but it had gotten to the point where it was dangerous for even a boater to try to get through there, kayaks to get through there, because the currents were ripping. Mr. Brown, the current's still bad going through there?
It's pretty strong, yes.
Sir?
It's pretty strong through there, yes.
So because you have seagrass, does that virtually wipe him out from doing it?
Yes, it was partially seagrass and partially because the Mr. Brown's mooring area was never dredged itself. The adjacent north-south channel was, and Pinellas County for private citizens will not allow new dredging. They would only allow maintenance dredging. And then on the state and federal side, then yes, they were concerned about the seagrasses, and the state may possibly have permitted it with some mitigation, but the Army Corps of Engineers most likely would not have permitted it.
We had gone through about 6 months of denials, so that must have been our initial request for maintenance dredge.
Yes, and then did they issue the city maintenance dredge eventually?
We sure did.
Okay. Well, now that you have it, it should be easier to get in the future from the agencies.
Kyle, would this be our second one, or has there been, I don't think there's been one since that initial one in 2002 or 3.
I don't know anyone since then, but you might want to look into it.
Marv, any idea? We haven't had a dredge since then.
Never heard of any dredging going on there since you did.
The key to why the county agreed to do it, basically for free, we gave them a staging area for the fill. It was right outside here, just south of the bridge where now there's the gazebo or the slam up there. So the county was thrilled with that. I think Army Corps of Engineers did it because somebody died. And it took that, and of course it was on television, and legislators were all over the Army Corps of Engineers, et cetera, et cetera. So the county ultimately, after it dried out, all the fill was here for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, all the water ran out, they hauled their way. Which gave us some new life for that channel that is now choking again. So I bring this up because your letter highlighted maintenance dredge as what Mr. Brown could have possibly done. but didn't have to based on our action tonight.
So just one more thing though, you indicated in your letter that there's precedents set already, that other people have already got their docks moved past the code.
Yes, there are some docks down to the south that, looking back through the aerials and our measurements, looked like they were further out.
Okay.
Tony, you've got some neighbors that have been dredged too, haven't you? Up on the island?
No, we haven't, not since I've been there, no.
Did I misunderstand you, or did you say that Pinellas County will not issue a dredge for private citizens?
They will not issue any new dredging areas. If it's an existing channel or boat basin, they will issue a maintenance dredge permit. But if that area has never been dredged before, Connor Petrin with Pinellas County Water Navigation, which who I spoke with, and he had indicated that in very rare circumstances, if you can show that you're providing a public benefit of some sort, they would allow new dredging. But he also said that was essentially limited to public piers, docks, boat ramps. It would be very difficult, he said, for a private citizen to do that.
So, in Mr. Brown's case, if he did not have the seagrass and he needed to dredge it, the county would not, and he never had it dredged in the past, the county would not issue him a permit to dredge it.
Correct, because it was never dredged.
That's good to know right there.
Kyle, have any citizens approached you lately for a maintenance dredge?
I haven't seen a dredge come through permitting in over a year.
I know Fred and Tony have got a neighbor up close to the corner of Alita, I guess up on Donato and Alita, one or two back, where it's shoaled in so bad, John.
Bad.
Yeah, they've got beaches behind their house.
40 feet of beach.
Interested enough, your old house,
Okay.
my neighbor,
Right.
he had a dredge done within the last year and a half.
Did you really?
For his caddy, he's got a 45-foot catamaran out there, and he applied for a dredging permit. I don't know what he had to do to get it. I don't think he had any seagrass issues where he was at. But they dredged it out within the last year, right next door.
Did they have to bring in a barge?
No, they pumped it out and pumped it to a truck there at the street. And, specifically for his boat that's there, he took 3 or 4 feet out. You know,
But that means he must have had a maintenance dredge in the past.
Correct, yes. Yeah, it was probably an excavated slip at some point.
We're dealing with some residents who need it real bad, and it's gonna drop in Kyle's lap.
Yeah, we've, the last 2 or 3 years, we've done a lot of permitting for that type, mostly in Manatee County, but it's become a very popular thing everywhere.
Kyle, that, obviously if they have a dredge, it's not like they have to come before us for variance of any kind, do they? It wouldn't need to be,
Not
unless they were
for,
denied by water navigation.
yes.
How do you get along with people in Clearwater?
Sometimes.
Then we may see more of you. Any other questions, John? Thank you very much for your information.
Sure, thank you all.
Thank you.
We'll entertain a motion to adjourn if there's no further business before the board.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Gatliff, Mr. Elliott, any adjourned. Thank you.